What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Snowcast Sports Talk Podcast, episode 22. Guys, it's been a little while. Me and Josh didn't foresee life hitting us the way it did this past week and a half, but it absolutely did. Josh, how we doing?
I'm doing good. Life and work hit us both pretty hard.
At the same exact
You're
time.
getting a new job, and
Moving.
you're moving and getting a new job. I've been traveling for work. So it's been very busy for both of us. So I'm glad that we're just here on this Saturday morning, able to get in some New York Giants talk.
Yeah,
And I'm happy to do it.
I'm thinking Saturday morning might be the new time because work isn't slowing down for either of us. Josh is traveling again next week, and next week is actually my last full week at my current job. So, yeah, next week might be crazy too, guys. So just work with us here. It's actually perfect. Me and Josh, we were talking last night, and I made the comment. I said, better all this craziness happen now in the off season, and then when the season actually starts, it should actually be a lot quieter for Josh and myself. So.
Yeah, it's like the best time to be quiet. If it's gonna be quiet, now's the time.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. So we had some topics to go over, guys. It is a quieter part of the season. I kind of preface that with every episode we're doing now. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was someone I follow on Twitter. He goes by James. He's at Daniel Jones MVP. It was about a week ago. He tweeted this video of the 2017 Giants. And I feel like, a lot of the time I've been doing this podcast, and then when Josh joined, we've talked a lot about Dave Gettleman and, Pat Shurmur and Joe Judge and sort of that regime. But, we can't forget as Giants fans, that's actually not the rock bottom of the New York Giants. The rock bottom of the New York Giants is the 2017 season, the year before Dave Gettleman was hired. It was, to give a little bit of backstory, in 2016, and this is for Josh too, because obviously, we're all kind of catching up here on the Giants' history. There's a lot of it. But Eli Manning was still our quarterback at the time. And in 2016, the general manager, his name, it's going to escape me, and that is going to bother me so much. I'm going to look it up. Giants' old general manager. Jerry Reese. See, once I started typing, I knew it would come up. Jerry Reese. Jerry Reese was on the hot seat for his job. Things weren't going well in 2014 or 15 or even 13. And so Giants ownership was pretty lenient with him because Jerry Reese had won 2 Super Bowls. He was the general manager in 2007 and the general manager in 2011. And so he decided he was going to go and basically get a bunch of mercenary players. And that term sort of means giving a couple guys that are really good a ton of money, overpaying, but then your team is really good in the now. But as me and Josh have talked about before, look at our salary cap now. It puts you in salary cap hell later down the line. So 2016, we had all these new players, and we actually went, I want to say it was 10-6 or 11-5. And we went to the playoffs, and we lost in the first round of the Packers, and we left that season really hopeful. I remember leaving that season really hopeful. And in 2017, Giants were like dark horse Super Bowl contenders. That's what people thought. And it just absolutely went sideways. The defense gave up. These mercenary players like Janoris Jenkins and Landon Collins, they weren't completely sold in on the team. We had some bad draft picks like Eli Apple and Eric Flowers not pan out. And then they benched Eli Manning, Ben McAdoo did, and things were just horrible. So yeah, it was an interesting video, and Josh kind of got to see some of the reactions from all the sports stuff, all the sports TV shows back in that time. So
Yeah, that was pretty rough video to watch. It was like really sad. I mean, it was sad in general, but
yeah,
the background music and but
it was kind of a perfect storm. We had all the injuries, we had all the bad draft picks, and all the players give up all at the same time.
yeah, like the attitude of the players in those clips was pretty terrible. I feel like I'm gonna be giving an uninformed hot take on something that happened in 2017.
Do it. Give us the uninformed hot take.
The uninformed hot take is that
it.
the guy that did the pissing thing.
That was Odell. That's Odell.
Yeah. I was like, people freaked out about that.
People did freak out about it. Odell.
I was like, that seems like an overreaction. He's just having fun. Like,
that's the New York media. That's actually a really great hot take, because a lot of Giants fans would say that, but Odell was so cocky and so full of himself, he would just do the craziest celebrations. And so
And that's why I say uninformed, because I don't know if there was more story around him
oh yeah,
besides just
tons,
that
tons.
makes that, for some reason, the outside story around that makes that gesture all the more infuriating, maybe. That's
What
why I say uninformed,
the
but
best way I can explain it, Josh, is think about Odell was Kayvon Thibodeau, and as good as Kayvon Thibodeau. So Odell had all this hype when he was drafted, and then he was better than people thought he was going to be. So his rookie year in 2014, 2015, and 2016, all three, he was a stud. He was a top 3 wide receiver. And so now think he's in year 4, and he is the creme de la creme of wide receivers and can get away with anything in the New York media. This guy was very full of himself and very cocky. I didn't care as a Giants fan. He was my favorite player. But you're right. Think about the media hype Kayvon gets, and then what if Kayvon did something like that? Even though it's not a big deal, the media and the New York media, they're going to make a huge deal out of it.
yeah, because just me seeing that clip in isolation, I was like, who fucking cares? It's not that big a deal. It's like, so what?
I do agree, but it's just when you're in the New York media and you have some Giants content creators, what happens is the media and the fan base make these players bigger than they actually are, and then they get those kinds of personalities and do those things. And instead of focusing on losing that game, we focus on Odell making a dog pissing motion. So either way, yeah, go ahead.
I could almost imagine it this way though. I might be a little bit upset actually if well, maybe I don't know. If like Kayvon Thibodeau acted like that, like if he did that, it would be like, that's not very professional. I thought you were like a really professional guy.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I can kind of see, but
and Odell would fight with the media and try to, say, hey, I'm a great guy. And I actually do think Odell's a really good guy. And maybe he was a little bit immature in that moment. But either way, that season, what it had me thinking about was we're going into this rebuild now, and there's all this hype built around it. And I just really hope what we saw in 2017 was the rock bottom. And the thing I explained to Josh, too, was after that rock bottom, that's when we hired Dave Gettleman. And so Dave Gettleman was the savior. And so the first year, we get Saquon Barkley, and he was absolutely amazing. And I think we won 5 games. And then we won 4 games. Then we won 6 games. And then we won... What did we win last year? 4 games? It never got better. It's just, that's been the rock bottom, and we've just been kind of rolling around down there. So really hoping now things get better.
Yeah, I do too.
And
I was going to say there's one question that comes to mind.
What's up?
And in the off season or in the say whenever we hired Dave Gettleman or some of the following seasons, was there this similar attitude of, man, there's such great chemistry in the building,
No.
Man, I really have. So this really does feel different then.
It does. So when Dave Gettleman was hired, Dave Gettleman had actually worked with the Giants before, just not as a general manager. And the Giants had always been an in-house club, which basically means they always wanted to bring people in who everyone knew, who had been there before. And so because of that, we brought Dave Gettleman in, and then he just made some questionable moves. He got rid of some of our best players like Jason Pierre-Paul, who's now in the Buccaneers and is still one of the best defensive players in the league. And then he brought guys in like Alec Ogletree, who was horrible. He brought in Jonathan Stewart, an old running back, who was horrible. And then he drafted Saquon number 2 overall, which, by the way, every Giants fan, including myself, was excited. But we're still paying the price for that today. And I love Saquon, but just, being an analytical person and looking at the numbers, it wasn't a good pick. And then he traded Odell for nothing. So it was like when he came and when we got Pat Shurmur, it wasn't the same. Like, Dave Gettleman didn't interview at like 6 other teams, and like I was like checking Twitter constantly to make sure like Joe Shane wasn't hired by someone else. Like, Dave Gettleman was going to be a Giant. So it was a little bit of a different feeling, but when you go 2-13 or 2-14, whatever that record was, anything's better than what it was. So
Well, good. I wanted to double check that we're not going through the same kind of honeymoon phase that we have before, and then it just shits the bed.
Well, the other thing too, we talk about a lot here as Giants fans is, and this is, I go back and watch our schedule episode where we went through the schedule, and I get concerned because I don't want to go into the season too optimistic. You can have a great coach and great players, but the third piece is chemistry, and no team has chemistry until they've played real NFL games. So the Giants could lose a couple games, even though we have a ton of the right pieces in place. It's called a rebuild for a reason. It's not a one and done. It takes usually two to 3 years, and you want to see improvement. So, and the Giants are doing it the right way, in my opinion. You know, they got rid of some guys that were older that, you know, would have helped the team in the now, but we didn't want to have to pay him money later on. You know, they didn't draft a quarterback in a very quarterback-weak draft. And, you know, we declined Daniel Jones' fifth-year option. So if he's awful this year, we can get out from under it. So, you know, the rebuild, the way the Giants are going about it, I'm really excited about. And the fact that the Giants brought in Joe Schoen, a guy who had no affiliation with the Giants, is really cool, too, bringing in some outside, new, fresh ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and what I want to see how the team reacts to losing a game. Like, what are they going to, like, I feel like that'll be the biggest teller to me.
Man, the whole podcast, we could just talk about this because that's what's so hard about Joe Judge, Josh. Joe Judge's first year, the team was 0-7, and they never gave up. Every game, it was so scrappy and so close. And then we won a couple games, and we were in playoff contention at the end of the year in a very bad division, but we were 6-10, and if we had won one more game, we would have been the winner of that division. But that was what was so exciting about Joe Judge, exactly what you said. We would lose these games, and I remember Tanner would go on his channel and be like, I know we're losing, but this team isn't giving up. They're fighting. And you saw in that video against the Rams, that defense in 2017 gave up completely.
Oh, yeah. Like, those guys just not even wrapping up.
And the thing that's more important to see is not the players in a bad situation, but how the coach keeps the players bought into the system even when things are going bad.
Yeah, because as a head coach, if you saw one of your players do that, you should be ripping them a new asshole. Like,
yeah.
You should be absolutely over that. You should not allow that to pass.
I agree, but it's, you know, everything about Ben McAdoo, his first year when they went 10-5, he just had a good quarterback who was smart, a number one wide receiver in the NFL, and a defense with a bunch of studs that were being overpaid. And then in the second season, the offensive line gave up, the defense gave up, people got hurt, and he wasn't a good coach. That's when good coaches are seen. Again, I know you don't know a lot about the other teams, you know, but the 49ers are a great one. You know, they've had more injuries than a lot of other teams, and they're always competitive because Kyle Shanahan's just such a good coach. So
did McAdoo give up?
Oh, yeah. You should. Yeah, when you have some time, watch some McAdoo press conferences because they are rough. Everyone hated that guy. So he's actually now working for the Panthers. He's their offensive coordinator this year.
He's still in the NFL after that?
He went to the Cowboys. He was like an assistant coach, and now he's over with the Panthers. So we'll see. He actually has a decent offense. Like, it's a very quick release. It's good for a team like the Panthers who are rebuilding their O-line. So the ball always comes out really quick. So it actually might work there. Ben McAdoo's just not a good head coach. Very similar to Pat Shurmur, who replaced him. And that's why people are afraid of Brian Daboll. You bring in a good offensive mind doesn't mean they're a good head coach, but...
Yeah, and you know, I believe that some people, not all people, but I believe some people can grow and change and learn from their mistakes. So he may be a much better person these days in terms of everything. He could be much better now than he used to be. Maybe he learned from that. I'm not saying he did, but
yeah, you never know.
I believe in people generally.
You never know. But yeah, it was a good video. Shout out to James, I said, at Daniel Jones MVP for putting that out there. I think he just retweeted it or posted it, but it was a fun watch. Brought me back and had me, just take a moment and be like, okay, like, don't expect the world this year, but just some competitive football would be really fun. So, but going into the next topic, last week too, I actually tweeted out, and I was curious, who out of all of our rookies that were not picked in the first round, so take out Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, who I do think will be the biggest impact players, out of all of our other picks, who will be the biggest impact? And so we had a couple different responses, and I want to shout out these people. Thank you for, responding to my tweet. I appreciate it. So we had Anthony at Rocco's Dad 1. He said Wan'Dale Robinson, Bellinger, and Belton. We had El Jefe, the Giants skit video genius, tell me Wan'Dale. And then we had New York Giants rush, say Bellinger. And then we had other people talking about Flott as well. Mr. Brownstone said Flott. So, Josh, with coming back into the Giants really quick now after a busy work week, out of all the draft picks that weren't in the first round, who do you think will be the biggest impact?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Wan'Dale Robinson. I still have my reservations against Flott. I really hope Okay, I've seen his video. He's ferocious. He's absolutely ferocious, but I just don't know if he can do it in the NFL, where you've got the highest level players that are huge. He's so skinny. But you know what? Because he's in the NFL, all of his coaches and trainers are probably training him to put on more weight. They're probably adjusting him to this in this league, being in this league and playing at this level. So I think he will obviously adjust, but to get back on the pick that I actually chose, which is Wan'Dale Robinson, I think it'll be the easiest for him to show how much he can provide. Because on all of these different positions, in some positions it's easier for you to show your worth than in other positions, just because there's more opportunities. Like, for example, as a wide receiver, you have more opportunities to show your worth to the team. This is my opinion, than in others, because it's harder to because the ways that you show that you're valuable on the defense is a lot harder. You either have to get a sack, an interception,
good tackle.
Just a tackle is eh.
Hey,
It has to be
you
a
miss it.
tackle for a loss. If you miss it, that's bad. I mean, but if you just get a tackle, it's yes, you did your job. Not
Fair enough.
wow, you're really showing. In order to really show you're really valuable for this defense, you have to do things that are pretty rare. But this is my opinion, by the way.
Go ahead.
And and then on the offense, as a wide receiver, it's more common or easier for you to get 20+ yard plays and get an open field than it is to get those other types of plays. So I feel like he will, just because of that, it's more likely that we will latch on to wide receivers first at the beginning, just because they will make the plays more likely at the first, and then other plays eventually will show up but on the defense. But I think Wan'Dale Robinson, not only because of that, but also because of the talent that he possesses. He is a shorter, smaller guy, but he's so much faster. He doesn't need to be huge and badass, He's on the offense.
It also is a scheme fit. Like Dable and Mike Kafka love the smaller wide receivers.
Yes, and with the scheme that they're going with the wideout, getting him out in open space, which he's already shown is
doing the five
his
wide.
forte. Exactly, which is he's shown as his forte in college. So I feel like I am putting my bets on Wan'Dale being the next biggest impact on the team.
Yeah,
beyond
Kayvon and Neal.
The first round. Yeah, Kayvon and Neal, exactly.
Well, so I'm gonna poke my holes in the Wan'Dale, but you
Go
agree,
ahead.
you
Go
agree with
ahead.
a couple. The only way I can see Wan'Dale being a big impact is if we have injuries, because I can name you 4 wide receivers that I think will be ahead of him in the depth chart. I think Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, and Darius Slayton. So now, let's say you do a 5-wide package. That's 4 wide receivers and a tight end. You have to take one of those 4 wide receivers out. Now, all 4 of those wide receivers are injury prone, and some of them struggle at catching the ball, as you've seen from Darius Slayton in the past. So, as we know, Wan'Dale, I actually do understand it. And the bigger case you can make for Wan'Dale is when I say, oh, well, there's 4 wide receivers in the depth chart that are in front of him. Well, you don't know that, Will. And he's a scheme fit, and Brian Dable handpicked him. Brian Dable didn't pick all these other guys. So it wouldn't shock me if Kapka and Dable prefer him maybe over a Darius Slayton. But Wan'Dale Robinson is one of these guys who I swear he was picked, and everyone in the Giants community was like, here we go again. But every day we see him, and there's actually some great videos of him and Daniel Jones having some really nice deep pass shots in the slot. Wan'Dale could absolutely be that guy. But there's one guy who's going to be more of an impact in his first year, and that is Bellinger, the tight end. The question is, who will be in front of him? Ricky Seals-Jones? I don't even know who the other tight end is. There is a very strong possibility Bellinger will be our number one tight end. And when you look in the practices, he's actually been working with the first team a lot. Secondly, Bellinger, if he's on the field a lot, will be able to show what he has. So, Bellinger was a blocking tight end. I think he went to Arizona. But, as me and Josh saw when we looked at his stats, he never dropped one of his passes last year. And he has very good hands. So, in my opinion, only because the tight end position is such a weak position for us right now, I think if Bellinger can come out and show that he's just decent, I think the team will give him a chance to play with the first team. Well, I think Wan'Dale might be more of a gadget player, which basically means he'll do an end around every now and again. He'll be like the fifth option on a play. I think Bellinger could be a huge blocking tight end and really help spring Saquon and Breida open. But also, too, being a safety net for Jones down under, like doing a crossing route down underneath. So, for me, I think it's going to be Bellinger.
And so you think Bellinger will start over Seals-Jones?
I do. I think if I had to make a bet, I think the three rookies we'll see on the field the most will be Kayvon Thibodeau, Evan Neal, and Bellinger. I forget his first name, which is really bumming me. Daniel Bellinger? I think it begins with a D. You're right. But either way, I think the tight end position. But then let's bring Flott into this because we had some people talk about Flott being the most impact player. Think about our cornerback room, very similar to the tight end room. Flott might be on the field a lot. You know, we got Adoree Jackson.
Yeah,
and that's
because
it.
of the CBs. Yeah, because of the CB shortage. And
if Flott's a stud, then they'll keep him out there, so he has a chance. I think Wan'Dale has the least % chance to be on the field out of the three of those guys, but I think Wan'Dale has one of the better skill sets. If someone said to me, who do you think is a better player? I'd say Wan'Dale. Wan'Dale's a great wide receiver. We've seen him be very effective. Right. Well, with Flott, like you said, his size and his play style and what he played in college, we have our reservations. But Flott, I just think, will be on the field more, and Bellinger's kind of like the perfect combination. He'll be on the field more, and I'm pretty confident he's going to be a good NFL player. So that's why I'm going with Bellinger. It's like if you combine Wan'Dale's talent and Flott's playability on the field, you get Bellinger.
You know, I listened to everything you said, and I feel like they're very good points. I feel like there's a really well thought out reasoning. So I can't think of any good reasons why that might be wrong.
It's your gut. You just got your gut. Your gut's telling you Wan'Dale. And hey, I'm with you, man. You know, Dable's an offensive-minded coach. Kafka comes from the Chief, where Tyreek Hill was an absolute superstar.
Yeah. And, you know, even if we do have, let's say all four of those starting wide receivers are on the, they say they're healthy and they can start. Even then, I don't think they'll just only use those four all the time.
Absolutely not.
I'm sure that they'll switch Wan'Dale in,
But I think every single play Bellinger will basically be on the field unless he's winded. So we'll see though. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. That's very convincing points that you make.
We'll see. But Josh, El Jefe is one of the top Giants content creators, and he thinks it's going to be Wan'Dale. So don't think your idea is unfounded. I would disagree with El Jefe on this. I think it's going to be Bellinger after thinking about it. But either way, I'm excited for all three. I think Wan'Dale maybe won't have the most impact his rookie year, but once Sterling Shepard is gone, and let's, God forbid, something happens with Kadarius where we have to let him go, or I think Wan'Dale Robinson could be that guy. You know what I'm saying? So Wan'Dale down the line at the end of the career would be like, well, he was the best one, but maybe not his first year.
You know what, though? In accordance with one of the points I was bringing up earlier, still think it'll be an offensive player that is shows the highest impact on the team rather than a defensive player. Which you seem to still agree with as Bellinger.
Yep.
But I think it will be one of the offensive players whether Wan'Dale or Bellinger. Not that the defensive players won't be an impact. I feel like they're good, solid players, but it'll be harder for them to show the impact. So it'll be much harder for them to be like, look at how valuable I am to the team.
So here's the question now. Let's put Kayvon and Evan Neal in the mix. Between Kayvon and Evan Neal, who has the bigger impact their rookie year? I'll go first. It is 1,000,000% Evan Neal will have the bigger impact. For this reason, our offensive line has been so bad, and we have not been able to evaluate Daniel Jones. We haven't seen a decent Saquon Barkley, and with an Evan Neal at right tackle, a healthy Andrew Thomas at left tackle, it's going to be the first time in a long time the Giants' offensive line really has some ability to be good. And because of that, I think Evan Neal is going to have the biggest impact because he's going to make Daniel Jones that much better. He's going to make Saquon Barkley that much better. He's going to make Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, all that much better. Because if you just give Daniel Jones time in the pocket to throw the ball, that's going to be the biggest impact. Our offense starts with our offensive line. They need to protect Jones and Barkley, or Wan'Dale Robinson can't do anything. You can run the best route ever. If Daniel Jones is on his back, it doesn't matter. Well, with Kayvon, the Giants' defensive line has not been horrible the past couple years. Azeez Ojulari, I think, broke the rookie record for sacks for the Giants last year. Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence are no joke players. They're not superstars, but they're good players. And Kayvon is going to have a little more trouble because I just think teams are going to prepare better for him, and I think him adjusting to the NFL might be a little bit tougher. I think with Evan Neal, Evan Neal was the most NFL pro ready. And if they have a bad game, Evan Neal has that personality where I think he'll just move to the next one. Well, with Kayvon, we've seen him say he will do that, but saying something and doing something are very different things. I have faith in Kayvon, and I love me some Kayvon. I wanted him at number 5. But the biggest impact player out of all the rookies is going to be Evan Neal. He's going to shore up that right side of the offensive line, and we need that so badly.
We do, and, an odd thought came to my mind, and that's that if Evan Neal does his job, and he does it well,
he gets no credit.
Then nothing will happen.
Yeah, exactly. And he gets no credit. Like offensive linemen,
will happen.
They get no love. They are known as a unit. They're not known as players. So it's like, oh, how's the Giants O-line? Not how's Andrew Thomas, how's Glowinski, how's Feliciano, how's Azudu, how's Evan Neal. Like that, those are the 5 linemen, but they're just going to be the offensive line.
Yeah, and when I say nothing will happen, what I mean by nothing, the quarterback will not be rushed.
Yep.
That basically the defensive person that he's up against will just not be able to get past him.
Yep.
And that it'll end there. So it's like if he does really well, nothing will happen. So, but if Kayvon does his job really well, stuff will happen.
Exactly.
What I'm saying is that Neal's role is super important.
Yeah, but when Neal does his job, Jones throws a touchdown.
Exactly. Yeah. So when nothing happens, that's perfect. That's great news for Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have to worry about rushes. He doesn't have to worry about getting sacks, so he can make better plays. So it's when I say nothing will happen, that's a good thing. Nothing happening is great.
The best way to put it is if Evan Neal does his job, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley look amazing. If Kayvon Thibodeau does his job, Kayvon Thibodeau looks amazing.
Well, see, the thing is what I'm saying is you can't make that leap because nothing will happen, and then whether or not Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley do well is up to them still.
Yeah, it is, but the argument for a lot of the argument for Daniel Jones supporters is he's never gotten the chance to do what he can do because he's always on his back.
Sure. So basically, it's like saying, imagine that this is going to be a totally off the wall analogy.
Let's do it.
But imagine you're trying to build a house, but it's always raining on you and storms are constantly coming in, and it's making your job very difficult to build this freaking house. And then Evan Neal comes in and says, hey, I'm going to hold the clouds back, and I'm not going to let it rain on you. I'm not going to let it thunder on you, so you can just build your house in complete freedom. That doesn't make Daniel Jones a great house builder. It just means he's not going to have the storms, so he has the freedom.
Yeah.
It's totally off the wall.
You ready for mine? I thought of one too. It's like if you're trying to paint on a canvas, but the canvas always has bumps and cracks in it, and so the painting's always off. Then you get a decent then you get a brand new canvas that's perfectly clean. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean now you're a good
We-
painter. It just means now you
Right.
don't have to deal with it. Yes, I
Right.
understand, but the thing is, and I do believe this, if Daniel Jones has that blank canvas, I think he can do a lot more than people have seen him do.
Yeah.
And Saquon
that-
can for sure. We've seen it. Saquon, his rookie year, was the leader in yards from scrimmage, I believe.
Right. So, but getting that blank canvas, I think, will be like critical to see what, because at the end of the day, right, at the end of the season, there is still that possibility we could let him go and say,
We could, because he can have that blank canvas and still suck.
yeah, and still not be a good painter or still not be a good house builder
Or a good quarterback.
Yeah, a good quarterback. It's just, yeah. So, but Thibodeau, it's like, if he does his job to the best of his ability,
Then
then
it's just
he's
Thibodeau.
getting
He's the
past-
superstar.
Then he's a superstar, and everybody's gonna be like, wow, look at that sack or that tackle for a loss. Look at him get past these defenders. He's so agile. And so, in terms of impact, I still agree that Neil will be the highest impact of the two because of his ability to stabilize the quarterback's pocket. But in terms of flashy, like who will get more credit and who will be more like amazed and like worshipped will be Thibodeau, because the things that he does is just going to be naturally more flashy.
Yeah, it's like the wide receiver. It's exactly the point you made with the wide receiver. It's easier to look good playing wide receiver than offensive lineman. It's easier to look good playing a defensive end than a defensive tackle. Like Dexter Lawrence has a harder time looking good because he's just a run stuffer.
Right.
So, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I got you. I think both guys will be great. I just think Neil is if Neil is everything that I think he is, it's gonna be really, really helpful for the Giants.
Yeah. So that's my opinion. I think we went through that pretty thoroughly.
The other cool thing, speaking of Kayvon, just a quick note, they had their media day, and Kayvon did a video of him in the Giants uniform. I want to see if I can find it quickly, actually. It was just really cool seeing... Yeah, we'll find it later. It's not a big deal. But it was just really cool seeing Kayvon actually in a Giants uniform. Like I said, it's just still, the past couple weeks have just been crazy, and I haven't really had a chance to like see all this Giants stuff and like, follow it and stay up to date. But, just seeing, it was like a crazy day. I finally got a second to go on my phone. I see Kayvon in like the Giants uniform wearing number 5. He has like Graham Gano next to him in number 9. And it's just like, man, like, if Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal can just be these guys, and I don't know, I think sometimes Giants fans fight with each other about being like, oh, you're too optimistic, like you're building everything up. Yeah, man, it's because we haven't won 7 games in like 5 years, 6 years. Like, it's just like sometimes you just gotta let us have it. Let's just be excited for Kayvon for a minute and just be like, holy shit, like Kayvon Thibodeau is a New York Giant. Let's just appreciate it. We don't need to give him a funny nickname. We don't need to be annoying about it, but just it was cool seeing him in the uniform without the CGI, as Josh said earlier.
Yeah, because we have seen pictures of him in the uniform, but obviously those were not real pictures. But they were very realistic. Somebody did a good job.
Yeah, I love those Giants blue uniforms too. They're so slick. I don't love the away uniform, the red and the white, but the all blue. Don't change it, man. Don't change that. That thing is so slick.
Now, with every NFL football team, don't they have also alternate uniforms?
Yeah,
like
some
they have
have
a
more
home
than others.
And away. Yeah, like a home and away, and then like 1 or 2 alternates.
Yeah, so the Giants have home, away, and then a color rush, which is really cool. Like, you should look up Giants color rush. I love that. Should be their full-time away uniform.
Let's see. Color rush. Oh, I see it as almost all white.
Yeah, yep, it's all white. You don't like it?
No.
Wow! Look at the away jersey. The Giants away is just all white, but with a lot of red. There's not a lot of blue.
I don't know. Maybe I guess I like, of all of those, if I had to pick, I guess
the home one, the home uniform, the all blue.
The home uniform. In 2021, they had a 10th anniversary SB.
Yeah, Super Bowl. So that's just white with gray pants.
Yeah, with red socks and red letters and stuff. So it actually almost looks exactly like their away uniform.
It is their away. When they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they were the away team. So.
Oh. Okay, well, I guess the color rush is pretty cool. It's like minimal red, more blue.
I
I
love it.
guess like okay, I'm just gonna tell you right now. I come from a long time ago. I used to be a Texans fan, and I love the Texans jersey. Like the Texans uniform is freaking awesome.
You're a big
Like
fan?
I like their jersey. I mean I like their uniform. Like if you look up Houston
Oh,
Texans
I know.
color
I know their uniform.
yeah, like, but if you go it's almost all blue, dark blue, even down to the shoes generally, and
Yep.
then like the red stripes, like that looks cool to me. Like
That's your
I've
jam.
always really I've always really loved the Texans uniform, but yeah, because I guess I'm weird, but I've always thought white as being like really plain, you know,
It's a
like
classic.
white is.
So that's the uniform they used in the 80s a lot and in the early 90s.
Yeah, like white is, I've always thought white is like really plain. Even when it comes to like cars, like
Mm-hmm.
white cars are like, why would you get a white car?
I don't.
Like,
I think for the uniforms, I'm gonna stick up for it. The Giants color rush white is so clean to me. I love it. I want
sure.
them to do black uniforms like this sweatshirt. I think this would be cool. Like do that. The Jets have their black and green. We'd have like the black and blue. But either way, I didn't have uniforms built into this.
I feel
But
like I'm being a real butthole.
well, so
But
so it sounds like you like the classic home, the classic blue, the best.
yeah, I think
I
I
love
like the
it.
classic
I
home the
love
best
it.
because there's more color. It's like there's something
Well, they
there.
are big blue. That's like their nickname. So
Yeah, so I think the home uniform is probably my favorite.
there we go. So final thing, guys, we wanted to talk about was there was some practices. I want to say it was OTAs. I could be wrong though. I think I don't know what the term is, but basically this week they finished up and then they're starting back up in July for like their official camps. And so this week, there was some notes. On Tuesday there was a lot talked about with the offense and the defense. So it looked like the offense actually had a pretty rough day. And one of the reasons was Wink was really calling up his defense. They actually had rookie safety Dane Belton blitz a bunch of times, and he actually had 2 sacks. Now, the way the sacks work in practice is you just run up and two-hand touch the quarterback because you don't want to tackle him. There's no pads. But obviously, they're bringing those players. But on the offensive side and in their defense, a lot of the Giants players on the offense are in red jerseys. So Kadarius Toney wasn't out there. Sterling Shepard wasn't out there. Kenny Golladay wasn't out there. And I don't think Kadarius Toney was either. So C.J. Board, David Sills, and Ricky James were the 3 wide receivers out there for the Giants. And so, again, it's just that concerning thing of, Giants injuries could be biting us, and I really hope Dable has a better grasp on this. But it's cool seeing Wink's defense play well. As you know, Josh, we've talked about on this podcast a bunch of times, his defense is concerning to me a little bit, but it sounds like it's being at least effective in practice.
Well, good. But something I wanted to mention is I wish we could see these practices like recorded.
There are some plays I can go on Twitter and send you them so people can go and like film them with their phone, but they don't record them because then other teams could go and watch them and see the plays and everything,
Oh, yeah. Of course.
So the competition there ruins it for the spectators like us. But
damn it.
I thought it was cool hearing Wink's defense is doing well, and it just really seems like the players, Julian Love had an interview, and a couple other guys did, and they're just really buying in. They really like it. And it's cool seeing rookies like Dane Belton, who, when Josh and I watched the film on this guy, and our notes were, he's a scheme fit, man. He's a great blitzer from the safety position. And him paired with Xavier McKinney actually might be a really good duo. And Dane Belton might be the number 1 impact player. We talked about Flott, Bellinger, and Robinson, but he might be in that mix.
Unless I was talking in terms of most likely earlier, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's not possible. I was talking in terms of most likely an offensive player would be easier. But hey, if Belton is just
A stud.
amazing and a real stud, he could outshine even the offense, where it's an easier job for them. So, hey, I'm all for it. If I start seeing him, I'm become a big Belton fan.
And the thing is too, Josh, as we know, is our safety room is just as weak as our cornerback room. We have one good safety in Xavier McKinney, so we need these rookies to play well. Like, that's where we talk about this defense. Man, if you're going to bring extra pressure, you're putting a lot of pressure on these young cornerbacks one-on-one and these safeties.
I just thought of a really stupid joke.
Oh man.
When you go to games, I'm gonna ask you, do you got your belt on? Because if you're gonna be a Belton fan, then you gotta have your belt on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even.
That's really dumb, but whatever.
Cringe
That's
core.
gonna be, yeah. That's gonna be the what is it? The good luck charm.
Yeah, we'll have our belt on. Every time Dave Belton makes a play, we'll get up and go, yeehaw!
We'll take our belt off, throw it in the air, and then put it back on.
But, yeah, so, having those younger wide receivers and those lower tier wide receivers out is good to build up some continuity with them and Daniel Jones. You can actually see the silver lining there. If, God forbid, all those guys do get hurt, we're going to need C.J. Board, David Sills, and Ricky James, if they're on the roster, to step up. So if they can build up some chemistry with Jones, that's awesome. So there is a flip. And then the other cool thing too is we were seeing Saquon in a lot of different roles. We were seeing him getting passes out of the backfield for touchdowns, running in different directions, running outside. So that's cool too.
Yeah. It's I noticed it says it's a rough day for the offense. So
yeah,
in terms of sacks, probably.
Yeah, offensive line. So Andrew Thomas wasn't out there because he's also in a red jersey. So they actually had, I want to say it's Azuda is how it's pronounced. He's one of our, he's from
Azudu.
Azudu. He's from North Carolina. They had him playing at left tackle, which I think he played a little bit in college, but I could be wrong. But obviously that's not his main position. He's more of a guard. So they're trying to put different guys in different spots. So I think, the defense was at quote unquote full power without Kayvon. He's also in a red jersey. But then the Giants offense was trying all different things. So.
Yeah, they're probably taking risks because they can right now. So.
Exactly. And, they asked Dable, they said, yeah, it was a rough day for the offense. And Dable's like, yeah, it's always going to be a rough day for one side. If the defense has a good day, the offense probably had a rough day. And if the offense has a good day, the defense probably had a rough day. Like, that's just being a coach. So I liked that answer. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. So.
Yeah. Yeah. How can the defense and the offense both have a good day?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible if they go back and forth, but it's pretty rare. But Dable made the point he liked seeing the offense have to do plays in tough situations, like 3rd down and 22, stuff like that. He was like, that's actually a pretty cool thing to practice. So I think they were kind of leaning into it.
Well, I mean, if the offense throws a touchdown pass, then that means the defense did not good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the Giants had some offenses, or some touchdowns, I mean, so.
So they can't both have a good day, because it wouldn't be possible. It's like, the defense, if the offense has a good day, then the defense would be like, well, we let up a few touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's not a good day.
Exactly. I think the thoughts coming out were, oh, hey, the blitz system's working pretty well. The different calls the defense was making was confusing the offense. So definitely good.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, but doesn't it actually occur sometimes that in these mini camps or OTAs, they actually play other teams?
Yep. So the Jets are the team. So there will be cross-training with the Jets. That's going to be later in the year, though. I want to say it's going to be in August because we play them in the preseason. So we always play the Jets in the preseason. It's just like a little thing. The Giants and the Jets always play in the preseason. So we will play them this year. And so we'll probably practice with them the week moving up to it. And then there's always some good competition there. It kind of lets the teams build some unity, like the Giants offense and defense. Instead of playing each other, they get to root for each other. So it'll be good.
Dude, I'm sure they're going to be very competitive there. It's like, yo, this is our new team. Check us out,
And the Jets also improved their team, though. They got Sauce Gardner. They got Jermaine Johnson. I mean, they got some guys.
Nah, they ain't got nobody.
But on that note, that's episode 22. Josh, thanks for joining me as always. For everyone who's listening and watching, appreciate it. Be sure to give us a like down below. Give us a comment if you had any comments or questions. We'll go over them next week. And if you're on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed. And we'll probably be live next Saturday, or we'll probably post next Saturday. So as Josh will be traveling this week, and I'll be very busy as well. So, but on that note, go Giants.
Go Giants.